The gunshot echoed across the dusty plains of Willow Creek, Montana. But Fiona O'Malley didn't flinch. She simply adjusted her aim and fired again, splitting the weathered wooden target in two with deadly precision. The year was 1875, and while other women in town were busy with needlepoint and hosting tea parties, Fiona was mastering the art of sharpshooting, much to the dismay of the townsfolk who watched from a distance with narrowed eyes and wagging tongues. "That O'Malley girl is at it again," Widow Perkins muttered to the general store owner as they observed Fiona from across the street. "No man will ever tame that wild spirit. It simply isn't natural for a woman to handle firearms like that." Fiona tucked her revolver into the holster strapped to her thigh, an accessory that scandalized the women of Willow Creek almost as much as her fitted riding pants. At 22, she had long stopped caring what others thought. After losing her parents to a band of outlaws 3 years prior, she had sworn to never be defenseless again. "Miss O'Malley," Sheriff Wilson called out as she walked past the jailhouse, "might I remind you that discharging firearms within town limits is against local ordinances?" Fiona tipped her hat, a sly smile playing at her lips. "My apologies, Sheriff, I must have forgotten again," the sheriff sighed. "That's the 3rd time this month, Miss O'Malley. Perhaps if you channeled some of that energy into more ladylike pursuits, you might find yourself in less trouble. And perhaps if you channeled some of your energy into catching real criminals instead of harassing me, this town might be safer," she replied, her green eyes flashing with defiance. As she walked away, she heard the whispers that followed her like shadows. "Too wild, that one. No proper upbringing. Shameful behavior." The words stung, but she'd grown a thick skin over the years. The townspeople would never understand that her so-called wildness was simply survival. Fiona made her way to the stables where her mare, Juniper, awaited. The stable hand, a young boy of no more than 12, looked up at her with admiration. "Miss Fiona, you going riding again? Ma says I shouldn't talk to you because you're a bad influence, but I think you're the best shot in the whole territory," she laughed, ruffling his hair. "Your mother's right to be concerned, Tommy, but thank you for the compliment. And yes, I'm going for a ride. The fresh air helps me think." As she saddled Juniper, the stable doors swung open, casting a long shadow across the hay-strewn floor. Fiona turned to find a stranger standing in the entrance, tall, broad-shouldered, with a weathered face that spoke of hard miles under the sun. His dark blonde hair was partially covered by a well-worn Stetson, and his blue eyes assessed her with an intensity that made her straighten her spine. "Madam," he said, tipping his hat politely, "I'm looking for the ranch owner, a Mr. O'Malley." Fiona's jaw tightened. "My father passed away 3 years ago. I own the O'Malley Ranch now." Surprise flickered across the stranger's face, quickly replaced by a measured expression. "I apologize for your loss. My name is Adam Daniels. I've come about the cattle drive position." Fiona remembered the advertisement she'd placed in newspapers across 3 territories. The O'Malley Ranch was struggling, and she needed experienced hands to help with the upcoming cattle drive to Wyoming. "Mr. Daniels," she said, measuring her words carefully, "I appreciate your interest, but I should warn you many men have come seeking that position, and many have left when they discovered they'd be working for a woman." Adam's expression didn't change. "Madam, I don't much care who signs my paycheck as long as it doesn't bounce. I've been driving cattle since I was 14, and I need the work." Something about his direct manner appealed to Fiona. She extended her hand, a gesture that often shocked men who expected a more delicate greeting from a woman. "In that case, Mr. Daniels, you're hired. If you can start tomorrow, be at the ranch at dawn." Adam shook her hand firmly, his calloused palm rough against hers. "I'll be there, Miss O'Malley." True to his word, Adam arrived at the O'Malley Ranch just as the first rays of sunlight crested the eastern mountains. Fiona was already up, dressed in her riding clothes, hair braided down her back. She was giving instructions to the 3 ranch hands she had managed to retain after her father's death. "Mr. Daniels," she called out, striding toward him, You're punctual, I appreciate that. Adam dismounted his chestnut stallion. Yes, madam, time wasted is money lost, my father always said. She nodded approvingly. We'll be moving 300 head to Cheyenne. It's a 6-week journey if the weather holds. These men, she gestured to the hands, are loyal but inexperienced with drives of this magnitude. I'm counting on your expertise. You'll be joining the drive, Adam asked, his tone neutral but his eyes betraying his surprise. Fiona's chin lifted slightly. This is my ranch, Mr. Daniels. My cattle, my livelihood, of course I'll be joining. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Of course, I was merely clarifying our numbers. 6 weeks is a long journey with limited hands. Over the next few days, Fiona worked alongside Adam, preparing for the drive. She was impressed by his knowledge and efficiency, and more so by the fact that he treated her with the same respect he showed the male hands. He didn't patronize her or question her decisions, a refreshing change from most men she encountered. On the 3rd day, as they were checking the herd, Adam's horse spooked at a rattlesnake, nearly throwing him. With lightning reflexes, Fiona drew her revolver and shot the snake, its head cleanly severed from its body. Adam steadied his horse and looked at her with newfound respect. That's some shooting, Miss O'Malley. Call me Fiona, she said, holstering her weapon. And thank you. My father taught me from the time I could hold a gun, said a woman on the frontier needed to protect herself. Your father was a wise man, Adam replied. My sister could have used such skills. He trailed off, his expression darkening. What happened to your sister? Fiona asked gently, Adam's jaw clenched. Outlaws, similar to what happened to your parents from what I've heard in town. She couldn't defend herself, I wasn't there to protect her. The shared grief created an unexpected bond between them. As they rode back to the ranch house, Fiona found herself opening up about her parents' murder and the struggle to keep the ranch afloat amid the town's skepticism of a woman rancher. They say I'm too wild, she confessed. That no decent man would have me as a wife, that I should sell the ranch and move east to live with my aunt in Boston. Adam was quiet for a moment. Wild isn't always bad, Fiona. Out here, a tame spirit gets broken quick. The day of the cattle drive arrived with a clear sky and a gentle breeze, good omens for the journey ahead. Fiona had spent the previous evening finalizing arrangements with the bank, securing enough funds to sustain the ranch until the cattle sale in Cheyenne. As she rode out to meet her small crew, she noticed several townsfolk gathered to watch their departure. Among them was Mayor Thompson, a pompous man who had been trying to pressure Fiona into selling her land since her father's death. Miss O'Malley, the mayor called out, his tone condescending. I see you're proceeding with this foolhardy venture. It's not too late to reconsider my offer for your property. Thank you, Mayor, but my decision stands, Fiona replied coolly. The O'Malley Ranch is not for sale. The mayor's smile tightened. A cattle drive is dangerous work, Miss O'Malley. No place for a woman, especially one without a husband's guidance. What would your dear father think of such recklessness? Before Fiona could respond, Adam rode up beside her. With all due respect, sir, Mr. O'Malley would likely be proud to see his daughter fighting for her legacy. Now, if you'll excuse us, we have a schedule to keep. As they rode away, Fiona gave Adam a grateful look. You didn't have to do that. I know, he said simply, but sometimes people need reminding that courage isn't exclusive to men. The first week of the cattle drive tested everyone's endurance. The days were long, the work relentless. Fiona worked as hard as any of the men, taking her turn at night watch, helping with the cooking and leading the herd through difficult terrain. She never complained, even when exhaustion painted dark circles under her eyes. Adam found himself increasingly impressed by her resilience and skill. One evening, as they sat by the campfire after the others had gone to sleep, he studied her profile in the flickering light. You know, he said, I've worked for a lot of ranchers over the years. Few of them could outride or outshoot you. Fiona looked up, surprised by the compliment. Yet the town sees only a woman who doesn't know her place. People fear what they don't understand, Adam replied. And a woman like you, independent, capable, challenges everything they believe about how the world should work. And what do you believe, Adam? She asked, her voice soft. He stared into the fire, considering his words carefully. I believe that strength and courage come in many forms. That what others call wildness might just be freedom. Their conversation was interrupted by a distant rumble of thunder. Fiona glanced at the sky, worry creasing her brow. Storm's coming. We should get some rest while we can. The storm hit with savage intensity the next day. Rain poured in blinding sheets, turning the ground to treacherous mud. Lightning split the sky, and the terrified cattle grew increasingly difficult to control. We need to find shelter, Adam shouted over the wind, riding up alongside Fiona. The herd's getting spooked. As if to confirm his words, a lightning bolt struck a nearby tree, sending it crashing to the ground in flames. The cattle panicked, breaking formation and scattering in all directions. Stampede. One of the hands yelled. Fiona spurred Juniper forward, racing alongside the frightened animals. Head them toward the valley, she called out. There's a narrow pass, we can contain them there. Adam followed her lead, impressed by her quick thinking. Together they guided the majority of the herd toward the valley, but a group of about 50 cattle broke away, heading toward a steep ravine. Without hesitation, Fiona changed course, racing after the strays. Adam followed, his heart in his throat as he watched her navigate the treacherous terrain with fearless determination. They managed to turn the cattle just before the ravine, but as they were heading back to rejoin the main herd, Juniper stepped into a prairie dog hole, hidden by the muddy ground. The mare went down hard, throwing Fiona from the saddle. Adam was at her side in an instant, dismounting before his horse had fully stopped. Fiona, are you hurt? She grimaced, trying to stand but falling back when she put weight on her right ankle. It's nothing, just a sprain. It's not nothing, Adam insisted, examining her ankle with gentle hands. It's swelling already, you need to rest it. We don't have time for that, Fiona argued. The herd is safe in the valley, Adam assured her. The other hands can watch them while we find shelter. He helped her onto his horse, then checked on Juniper. The mare wasn't seriously injured but was favoring her front leg. He led both horses through the rain, supporting Fiona with one arm while searching for shelter. They found an abandoned trapper's cabin a half-mile away. It was small and dusty, but the roof was mostly intact, offering respite from the relentless rain. Adam helped Fiona inside, then tended to the horses before returning with their saddlebags. He built a fire in the stone hearth, filling the cabin with warmth and light. Let me see that ankle, he said, kneeling beside her. Fiona winced as he gently removed her boot and rolled up her pant leg. Her ankle was swollen and beginning to bruise. I have some liniment in my bag, Adam said. It will help with the swelling. As he applied the medicine with careful hands, Fiona watched his face, the concentration in his blue eyes, the gentle set of his mouth. In that moment, she realized how much she had come to trust this man in the short time they'd known each other. Thank you, she said softly. Adam looked up, his hands still cradling her foot. For what? For not treating me differently. For seeing me as a person, not just a woman who doesn't know her place. His eyes held hers. You're the strongest person I've met, Fiona O'Malley, man or woman. Something shifted between them in that moment, a recognition, a possibility. Adam cleared his throat and returned to bandaging her ankle, but the air in the cabin felt charged with unspoken words. They spent the night in the cabin, the storm raging outside. Adam insisted that Fiona take the small cot while he slept on the floor nearby. Despite her protests, he was adamant. You're injured, he said firmly, and my mother raised me to be a gentleman, Wild West or not. In the morning, the storm had passed, leaving a washed, clean world behind. One of the ranch hands, having tracked them by the hoofprints, arrived to report that the herd was safe, but that they'd lost a day's travel. We'll make up the time, Fiona assured him, testing her weight on her injured ankle. It was tender but bearable. Tell the others we'll rejoin them by midday. After the hand left, Adam voiced his concern. "You should rest that ankle another day." Fiona shook her head. "We can't afford the delay, I'll be fine." "At least ride double with me today," Adam suggested. "Give Juniper time to recover and your ankle a chance to heal." To his surprise, Fiona agreed without argument. Perhaps it was the pain, or perhaps something else entirely that made her accept his help. They rejoined the herd by noon, and the drive continued. Fiona rode with Adam, her back against his chest, his arms around her as he handled the reins. It was a practical arrangement, but there was nothing practical about the way her heart raced at his proximity or the comfort she found in his steady presence. The days passed, turning into weeks. Fiona's ankle healed, but something had changed between her and Adam. There were lingering glances, conversations that stretched into the night, moments of connection that went beyond their working relationship. One evening, as they made camp near a small stream, Adam found Fiona sitting alone, staring at the water. "Penny for your thoughts," he said, sitting beside her. She smiled. "I was thinking about my father. He loved this land so much, gave everything to build the ranch." Her smile faded. "Sometimes I wonder if I'm doing the right thing, fighting so hard to keep it when everyone thinks I should sell." "What does your heart tell you?" Adam asked. "That it's worth fighting for," she answered without hesitation. "That I belong here even if I don't fit the mold of what a woman should be." Adam's hand found hers, his fingers intertwining with hers. "I think you fit exactly where you're supposed to be." Their first kiss happened under a canopy of stars, with the gentle lowing of cattle as background music. It was tentative at first, then deepening with a hunger that surprised them both. When they finally pulled apart, Fiona's eyes were bright with emotion. "I never thought." She began, "Neither did I," Adam confessed. "But here we are." The remainder of the journey took on a different quality and anticipation, a joy that made the hard work seem lighter. They kept their growing feelings private, but the ranch hands weren't blind. They saw the way Adam looked at Fiona, the way she smiled when he was near. 2 days from Cheyenne, disaster struck. A band of cattle rustlers, 6 men strong, attacked at dawn. They came firing, hoping to scatter the herd and steal as many cattle as they could in the confusion. Fiona and Adam were already awake, drinking coffee by the morning fire when the first shots rang out. Immediately, they grabbed their weapons and took cover. "Circle around," Adam told one of the hands. "Keep the herd together, we'll handle this." Fiona checked her revolver. "I count 6 of them, we're outnumbered." "But not outmatched," Adam replied with a grim smile. "Ready?" She nodded, and they moved in unison, firing with precision. 2 rustlers went down immediately, surprised by the accuracy of the defense. The others retreated to regroup. "They'll come back," Fiona said, reloading her weapon. "They've seen the size of our herd." Adam nodded. "We need to draw them away from the cattle." The plan they formed was dangerous but necessary. Fiona would make herself visible, drawing fire while Adam circled behind the rustler's position. It was a risky strategy that relied on perfect timing and trust. "Be careful," Adam said, his eyes conveying what words couldn't. "You too," Fiona replied, touching his face briefly before moving into position. The plan worked almost perfectly. Fiona's appearance drew the rustlers' attention, and Adam was able to surprise them from behind. In the ensuing gunfight, the remaining rustlers were either wounded or fled, but not before one of them got off a shot that grazed Fiona's arm. Adam was at her side immediately, his face pale with concern. "You're hit." "It's just a scratch," she insisted, though the blood soaking her sleeve suggested otherwise. Adam tore a strip from his own shirt to bind the wound. "This was too close, Fiona, too damn close." That night, after the wound was properly cleaned and bandaged and the herd settled, Adam came to Fiona by the fire. His face was set with determination. "I almost lost you today," he said without preamble. "But you didn't," she reminded him. "I'm tougher than I look." "I know exactly how tough you are," he said, taking her hands in his. "And that's why I need to say this before I lose my nerve." Fiona's heart hammered in her chest as Adam dropped to one knee before her. "Fiona O'Malley, I've known you for only a short time, but in that time, you've shown me what true courage looks like. What it means to fight for what matters. I never thought I'd find someone who makes me feel the way you do, like I'm home, no matter where we are." He paused, his blue eyes reflecting the firelight. "I don't have much to offer except my heart and my hands, but if you'll have me, I'd like to stand beside you, not in front of you or behind you, but right beside you for all the days to come." Tears welled in Fiona's eyes. "Are you asking what I think you're asking? I'm asking if you'll marry me," Adam said simply. "Not because you need a husband or because the town thinks you should have one, but because I love you, Fiona, wild spirit and all." Fiona's laugh was watery with emotion. "The town will say you're crazy. Let them talk," Adam replied. "I know what I want. Do you?" Her answer was to pull him to his feet and into her arms, her lips finding his in a kiss that left no doubt about her feelings. "Yes," she whispered against his mouth. "Yes, I'll marry you, Adam Daniels." They arrived in Cheyenne 2 days later, their cattle herd intact despite the challenges of the journey. The sale went better than Fiona had dared to hope, securing the future of the O'Malley Ranch for years to come. Before heading back to Willow Creek, they were married in a simple ceremony at the Cheyenne courthouse. Fiona wore her cleanest riding pants and a white blouse she purchased for the occasion. Adam wore his best shirt and a new vest. It wasn't the traditional wedding many women dreamed of, but for Fiona it was perfect. "Mrs. Daniels," Adam said as they left the courthouse, testing the name on his tongue. "Has a nice ring to it," Fiona smiled. "I think I'll keep O'Malley for the ranch business." The O'Malley name means something in Montana. "As it should," Adam agreed. "And what about Daniels? What does that name mean to you?" She squeezed his hand. "It means I've found someone who sees me for who I am and loves me anyway. It means I'm not alone anymore." The return to Willow Creek brought its own challenges. News of Fiona's marriage spread quickly, causing quite the stir among the townsfolk who had long written her off as unmarriageable due to her wild ways. Mayor Thompson was particularly shocked when Fiona and Adam rode into town, wedding bands glinting in the sunlight. "Miss O'Malley, or should I say Mrs. Daniels now, I must say this is unexpected," the mayor sputtered. "I wasn't aware you were even courting." "Life is full of surprises, Mayor," Fiona replied cheerfully. "And the cattle drive was quite successful, thank you for asking. The O'Malley Ranch will be expanding its operations this year." The mayor's face fell at the news. He had been counting on the drive's failure to force Fiona to sell her land. "Well," he said stiffly, "I suppose congratulations are in order, though I must wonder, Mr. Daniels, if you know what you're getting into. Miss O'Malley, your wife, has quite the reputation for being wild." Adam finished for him. "Yes, I'm well aware of my wife's spirit. It's one of the things I admire most about her." The mayor was left speechless as the newlyweds rode on, leaving whispers and stares in their wake. Over the following months, Adam and Fiona worked side by side to strengthen the ranch. Adam's experience with cattle breeding helped improve their stock, while Fiona's sharp business mind ensured they got fair prices for their beef. Together, they built a formidable operation that even the most skeptical townsfolk had to respect. Gradually, the whispers about Fiona changed. What had once been criticism became admiration, sometimes grudging, but admiration nonetheless. Young women in town began asking her for shooting lessons. The banker who had been reluctant to extend loans to a single woman now greeted her warmly and inquired about her business plans. A year after their wedding, Fiona and Adam stood on the porch of the ranch house, watching the sunset paint the mountains gold. Adam's arm was around her waist, his hand resting gently on the slight swell of her belly where their child grew. "Do you ever regret it?" Fiona asked suddenly. "Marrying someone the whole town thought was too wild to be tamed," Adam laughed, pulling her closer. "First of all, I never wanted to tame you, and second, I think we've proven them all wrong, don't you?" Fiona smiled, leaning into his embrace. "We have at that." though I'm not sure they've forgiven me for wearing pants to church. They'll survive, Adam said dryly. Besides, our daughter might want to wear pants too. Daughter? Fiona raised an eyebrow. You sound very certain. Adam shrugged. Just a feeling. A daughter with her mother's spirit would be a force to be reckoned with. And if it's a son, then he'll learn to respect women who forge their own paths, Adam said firmly. Either way, this child will grow up knowing that being wild isn't a flaw, it's being true to yourself. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Fiona thought about the journey that had brought her here, the loss, the struggle, the fight to prove herself in a world that didn't believe a woman could succeed on her own. She had done it, but not alone. She had found a partner who didn't want to change her or control her, but to stand beside her. I love you, Adam Daniels, she said softly. Thank you for loving all of me, wildness included. Adam's kiss was his answer, tender and passionate all at once, a promise that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. 5 years later, the O'Malley Daniels Ranch was the most prosperous in the territory. Fiona and Adam had 2 children, now a daughter with her mother's fiery spirit, and a son with his father's gentle strength. The townsfolk who had once whispered about Fiona's unsuitable behavior now pointed to her success as an example of frontier determination. Mayor Thompson had been replaced by a younger, more progressive man who often sought Fiona's advice on matters affecting local ranchers. The general store stocked women's riding pants alongside dresses, and it wasn't uncommon to see young women practicing their shooting at the edge of town. You changed things, Adam told Fiona one evening as they watched their children playing in the yard. By refusing to be what others wanted you to be. Fiona smiled, watching her daughter demonstrate to her younger brother how to twirl a small wooden lasso. We changed things, she corrected. By showing them that love doesn't diminish strength, it enhances it. As the sun set on another day at the ranch they had built together, Fiona reflected on the words that had followed her for so long. Too wild. What had once been meant as criticism had become her greatest strength, and the cowboy who called her his wife had never tried to tame that wildness. He had simply given it room to grow, proving everyone wrong in the process. And in the wild heart of Montana territory, that was the greatest love story of all.